The cleaner that we eat, the better we feel and the better we look. That means less bloating, it means clearer skin, it means better digestion, and sometimes that's enough to want to clean up our diets and get our guts healthy. But it's also really important to understand the why about gut health. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 4 parts of our gut that majorly affect our health. I'll share a method that I've used recently to monitor my gut health, and then I'm going to share an easy recipe that would be helpful for anybody's gut. I'm going to share with you my personal journey on my gut health, which is kind of embarrassing and I don't talk a lot about on this channel, but I think it's worthwhile to know that you are not alone. I'm going to give you some ideas and some easy ways that you can repair your gut if you're dealing with issues, as well as some tips with beans. If you're sensitive to beans, I'm going to share some ideas on how to be able to get those fibrous foods in without them totally bloating you out. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Michelle. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and if you enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I've got a ton of informational videos and really good recipes that are whole food, plant-based inspired, that are just going to help you on your health journey. And just a little disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, so if you're having serious gut issues, of course you want to see a doctor, a naturopath, a functional medicine practitioner, something along those lines. So basically everything starts and ends in our gut. So whether you have like kind of that intuition feel, a gut feeling, or whether we're talking about toxins getting out of the body, this kind of inner nebulous system is often referred to as our second brain, which I'm sure you've heard about. Our guts are home to a nervous system that's larger physically than our skulls, and it holds 3/4 of our immune system tissue. Chronic disease and chronic inflammation starts in our digestive system. So if your gut is off and your body is inflamed, there's really nothing on the surface or any kind of beauty product or anything like that that's going to solve it. It's really an inside job, and nutrition plays a huge part in getting your gut healthy. So when you think of your gut, you might just be thinking about your intestines, but really the gut comprises more than that. And there's actually 4 major parts to the gut system that affect our health. 1 is the intestinal wall. That's the lining of the intestinal tube. 2 is the intestinal flora, and that's the good bacteria that lives on the intestinal wall, and it's often referred to as our microbiome. 3 is the gut's immune system, which is often referred to as GALT, the gut-associated lymphatic tissue. And 4 is the nervous system, which is all the small little nerve filaments that are spread throughout the gut. So when our gut is healthy, the intestinal wall keeps harmful pathogens and toxins from getting into our bloodstream. And at the same time, it allows nutrients to get into our body that we need to thrive. So if you think about your gut kind of as like a net with really tiny, tiny holes, that's what this intestinal wall is like. So there are many things that we could be exposed to on a daily basis that can cause this net to break. These can be things like harmful toxins, pesticides, chemical exposure, antibiotics, sugary foods, BPA, stress, for some too much gluten. And over time, this irritation can cause tiny little holes in our intestinal wall, which is known as a leaky gut condition. So in this leaky gut condition, it's very possible for undigested food particles and other foreign organisms to leak through the intestinal lining. And this in turn impairs the function of the gut as well as the nervous system and the immune system, and leads to unwanted side effects. So if you're somebody who feels like you might have something going on in your gut, maybe you have like some really vague symptoms, these can be super tricky to pinpoint, but oftentimes they do have something to do with our gut. So even things like allergies or sneezing or lots of mucus secretions coming out, itchiness. For example, like if animal cheese, like you've had a lot of it in your life and all of a sudden you're in your mid-30s, and whenever you eat or overdo the animal-based cheese, you suddenly get itchy or your body just can't tolerate it anymore. They respond with an inflammatory response. So if you're feeling or looking unwell, cleaning up your gut and really doing a kind of real clear focused nutrition plan for your gut can sometimes clear up the problems that you're having completely, or at least help you pinpoint what's going on. I've been wanting to test my microbiome for a long time. I did an interview with Lisa from Raw Food Romance probably like over a year ago where she talked about doing that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally want to do that. Wouldn't it be cool to know exactly what my body needs? So I finally did a test with Viome, who is the sponsor of this video, and if you're having any of these kind of nebulous, potentially gut-related symptoms, I really recommend getting your microbiome tested. It was very eye-opening to see the results, what's going on with me personally, and how I can move forward. Viome will tell you exactly what's going on inside your body, and it gives you solutions that are actually really really helpful. We can fix a lot of our gut issues by consuming the right foods, and even if you're so inclined, getting on some prebiotics and probiotics. And Viome really makes the process easy because you're able to do it in the comfort of your own home, and you're not having to go somewhere and give a stool sample, which feels a little bit uncomfortable. The test will ship right to your door with the collection instructions. You activate your kit, you complete the test, and you ship it back for free. The test that I did was Viome's gut intelligence test, and it reveals 20 integrative health scores, including your inflammatory activity, your metabolic fitness, and your gut lining health. I got my results from Viome in about 2.5 weeks, and I was able to look on the app, which was very informative, and it just kind of told me what the different scores meant, as well as my overall score, and the types of food that it recommended for me to avoid, the types of food to minimize, the types of food to maximize, the superfoods that are gonna be good for my gut. And I just really felt like it gave me a clear path to know, okay, this is the direction that I'm gonna go. And I'm even thinking like maybe 6 months down the road, test again and see what kind of improvements I've made. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of my personal story. I don't talk about this a lot on the channel because, well, it's kind of embarrassing, right? And here's the way that it goes. When I was pregnant with my son Eli and I went into labor, I got what they call a prolapse. And I've talked about this a little bit. Now, a prolapse is when you have an organ in your body drop down. I had an unmedicated home birth. It was a very long labor, and the pushing at the end there caused my uterus, rectum, and bladder to prolapse. Now, no problems just pop out of nowhere. This is most likely tissue had been weakening from something going on earlier in my life, which could have been there genetically. Through the parathyroid, I've done a lot of iridology readings to see where there are genetic weaknesses and just inherent weaknesses in my body. And this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But since that happened, and then having another home birth, unmedicated vaginal birth with Naya, my prolapse condition was getting to the point where, because these organs were dropped, I wasn't able to poop properly. And even though I was eating all the good foods that you're told to eat for a healthy gut, no matter what I was eating, I was having a really hard problem. And obviously poop is not something that is supposed to stay in your body. It's supposed to get out. It is the way that our bodies excrete toxins, unused material. And so there was a big problem for me. So this has been something that has been going on for me progressively for almost 5 years. And I've tried to get to the bottom of it to the best of my ability. And right now I'm under a naturopath's care, a sort of detox protocol to be able to heal my gut and potentially put the pressure off the prolapse, and maybe even down the road see some healing in the prolapse. All that to be said, I started to get these really weird skin reactions almost every time I ate, these mystery symptoms. But I really knew, just from my training as a nutritionist, I know that everything starts in the gut. And then with this prolapse condition, it was very heartbreaking. I felt ashamed and just like, what the heck? I'm a nutritionist. I can't figure this out. But you know, sometimes that's just the way it is, and you got to go and you got to get some help from somebody else and do the best you can. And that's really the road that I'm on in a nutshell. So with all of that being said, we were able to see that because of this condition, it was actually leading to me not being able to absorb nutrients properly. And so I've gone on this protocol, and I'm still doing it. But I believe and I hope that there is some good coming out of it. And I've already seen differences in my bowels and being able to poop. And the rashing only occurs when I overeat certain kinds of food. So now I know it's a great baseline for me. And so all that to say, I'm sharing this because there might be someone out there who's thinking, gosh, I eat really clean. I'm doing everything perfectly and I'm still having problems. Me too. It's totally, you know, something that can happen sometimes. I eat very clean, and sometimes it still takes some investigation to know. So be encouraged, you're not alone. I'm in this with you. And I've been going through kind of a detox period, and now I'm kind of trying to rebuild up and rebuild my gut microbiome. On an encouraging note, it is very possible to see positive changes in your gut if you don't have, you know, a long line or history of genetic weaknesses or things going on that have been building and mounting for a while. I have seen it in clients that I work with, being able to drastically reduce the amount of chronic inflammation that they have, different gut problems like constipation or bloating with beans. These things are fixable. So be encouraged that you can make a change, and it can be a really good thing for you with just a little bit of guidance. And if you need my help with that, check out the description where I share a little bit more about my coaching. So I'm going to share with you my results now. Basically, I got an average test score for my gut, which was a little bit disheartening, but going through all of the things that I've been going through for the last 5 years or so, and we've kind of been through a detox period, and we're now starting to rebuild my gut. On second consideration, I actually look at this as a good thing because honestly, because of all the detox protocol that I'm going through, I am able to poop on a daily basis. And to me, that's a huge win because not pooping is not fun and it feels awful and it feels like, you know, there's auto-intoxication going on, which is no good for any part of your body. So yeah, I think this was very eye-opening to me to take this test. If you're somebody having some gut symptoms, I would recommend doing this. It's gonna give you a little bit of a direction and a path to go on for your specific gut makeup. So Viome was very generous in giving my viewers a $110 off on your next test with them. So if you want to learn more about that and get your gut tested, check out the link in the description. So now I just want to give you some general guidelines when it comes to good gut health. There's certain foods that everyone should avoid. So you want to get rid of artificial sweeteners of all kinds. Sweeteners like agave nectar, aspartame, corn syrup, sucralose, and white sugar. Foods with added and processed sugar. So things like sodas, sweeteners, sports drink, flavored oatmeals, granola bars, flavored yogurts, all of that kind of stuff. Oils, surprise, surprise, coming from me, right? Refined grains like white flour. So anything made with refined grains like white pasta, cookies, cakes, things along those lines. And ultra-processed foods that have ingredients that you can't pronounce, have added sugar, have added oil, have added fat. These are no good. And cured meats and bacon and hot dogs, anything processed is no good. This list sounds really familiar to a whole food plant-based diet if you haven't made that connection. So if you're watching this on a whim, you're not vegan, you're not whole food plant-based, I highly recommend you watch this video right up here to get some more basics on a whole food plant-based diet because it will help tremendously with gut health. So say you've done all of those things and you're still seeing some problems in your gut, this is the best and easiest way to kind of pinpoint those and see some improvement. Now, I am not against gluten, but I do know when it comes to gut health, reducing the amount of gluten, even if you're not gluten intolerant or celiac, can be very beneficial. So too much gluten causes the body to produce increased amounts of the molecule zonulin, and this controls the opening and the closing of the junctions in the intestinal wall. We need zonulin, but if we have too much, the intestinal wall will be open too wide, or often this leads to leaky gut. Number 2, get more of the nutrients that your body needs to repair the intestinal wall. Most importantly being L-glutamine because it supports cellular production. Whole food plant-based sources include red cabbage, parsley, and oats, and butyrate, a fatty acid that's actually produced by our intestinal flora using indigestible fiber from foods we consume like fruits and vegetables, sweet potatoes, grains, beans, nuts, basically a whole food plant-based diet. Number 3, not always possible, but do your best to stay away from threats to the intestinal flora. These can include having a C-section, taking antibiotics, being in chlorinated water, exposure to chemicals, preservatives in your food. Number 4, again, if you've cleaned up your diet and you're still not seeing any kind of difference, consider taking a multi-strain prebiotic and eating more fermented foods. So think like kimchi or sauerkraut. These have beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, which fermented foods are so very rich in. And then number 5, find your personal triggers and just consume less of them. This was a big thing to me. I know what triggers me, and when I would get those rashes, I was able to pinpoint it. And when I eliminated those from my diet, I was able to see huge relief. Anything that causes you indigestion, bloating, inflammation, fatigue, etc. are all potential triggers for you. So test through your diet and experiment with your diet, but also maybe get a test like Viome and see where your gut is currently. And I have to be totally honest, I'm just like you. Even though I create recipes as part of my job, I get in a food rut too, and I thought it was really interesting. The majority of the foods that Viome recommended that I minimize were the foods that I eat all of the time. So intellectually, I know, you know, that we have to have a varied diet, but on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I don't quite get there, and I'm sure you don't either, but it's really caused me to get out of a food rut and to really be focused on eating a wide variety of plant foods. So let's make a recipe now that is super delicious, yummy, easy to put together, and includes lots of gut-healthy foods. Making a little dressing here with garlic, which is great for heart health and immunity. I'm using a little bit of mustard, maple syrup, apple cider vinegar, which has actually been shown to break down gut bacterial biofilms, and doing a little bit of vegan mayo or tahini, whatever you prefer, salt and pepper, whisking together. And this can be made ahead of time if you'd like, or you can make it on the spot really quickly. Super delicious. Washing lettuce, very high in vitamin K, vitamin A, folate. I'm using some basil, which helps reduce growth of cavity-causing bacteria and protects the gut. I'm doing some arugula, which is fiber-rich and calcium-rich. A fennel bulb, which is rich in vitamin C. It has antioxidant properties. It actually helps make collagen, and it destroys free radicals. I'm chopping up some red onion, which is high in quercetin, which is anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. Doing some tomatoes, which are rich in lycopene. Avocado is a concentrated source of magnesium, essential fatty acids, and fiber for digestive health. I love to chop up my basil really thinly. It works great. I'm using chickpeas, which are great for prebiotic food, and it feeds beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome. If you have a problem with beans, I would recommend soaking them from dry for at least 4 hours, if not overnight, to get them to a nice consistency. And just increase your bean intake slowly. If you have canned beans, you want to rinse those before you use them, and it's not something you need to go crazy with right away. A little bit at a time is going to be much more beneficial than you feeling like a balloon full of air needing to hop on the toilet all the time. So now I'm just assembling my salad. I'm adding some sunflower seeds because they're a great source of vitamin E, which is a fat-soluble vitamin. They promote gut barrier strength and keep your microbiome balanced. Quinoa is a nearly complete source of vegan protein at 8 grams per cooked cup. It's a really great thing to have on hand. A lot of elements of this meal can be made ahead of time: the quinoa, the dressing, the chickpeas, and then it's really just a matter of tossing it all together. And it is really delicious. So delicious, in fact, that I am going to sit in different parts of my living room to try it and share it with you. I hope you guys enjoy this. The recipe is down below. So to sum it all up, these are the takeaways from this video. A lot of what can ail us, whether it is the way that we feel or our moods or the way that we look, can be central to what's going on in our gut. The cleaner our everyday diet is and adheres to eating these clean foods that are gonna be gut healthy, the better, but also don't guilt yourself. You know, sometimes you're not gonna be perfect, and just give yourself the grace to be like, okay, well, I totally blew it, and get back on the horse right away, and you're gonna be on the way to a cleaner, healthier gut. And lastly, I know this is vain, but it matters to me, and maybe it will matter to you. A really cool byproduct of getting your gut in check is that you're gonna see it externally. You're gonna see a difference in your hair, your skin, your nails. And I can totally say I went through a pretty ugly stage recently because of all the stuff that was going on internally. And I feel like I'm finally starting to creep back out of that hole. But you know, it really makes a difference in what we look and feel like. So that's just a vain byproduct that, you know, if you want to get things under control, something to look forward to is better looking skin and hair and nails, and just feeling better about yourself externally. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and make sure to check out that generous discount from Viome, which is down in my description. And I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye.